Hello and welcome to Success Tips Global. It's July the 20th, 2023, and I have the pleasure of talking with Mr. John Cunningham, writer and coach. Welcome to Success Tips Global.
Hi, Everett. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Great. Now, before coming to Japan, where were you and what were you doing?
So before I came to Japan, I lived in Silicon Valley in California.
Okay.
And I worked in the video production field.
Okay.
So my first job out of university, I started a company with a friend of mine. I called by Frame Productions, and we did pretty much whatever we could do, but that ultimately ended up being mostly corporate training videos and sales videos. And so I did that out of school. My friend's still in business. I think he's been in business for like 40 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. And then after
So
that,
you have a technical background.
yeah. After that, I moved into duplication, and then I actually helped my company to start an online store. Like this was
Okay.
like back at the start of the internet when like people didn't really have an idea about how to do that. So
Wow.
it was pretty interesting. Yeah. And then I decided to come to Japan, and the rest is
Okay. So why? It seems things
why.
were going pretty well.
Well, yeah, it was. Yeah, it was and it wasn't, right? I always tell the story about the last time I moved to Japan was in 2017, I think. Yeah, and I always say like in America, I had a six-figure income.
Hmm.
In Japan, I made about half of that or even
Yeah.
less. And my lifestyle was much better in Japan.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so
Why
that
though?
that was part of what led me to Japan, right? We'd had lots of exchange students, and so like the interest in Japan and lifestyle here had grown over that time. So I thought I'd just take a dip and try to get into teaching.
Okay.
And it's something that I enjoyed doing video production. We're doing online training, so it was
Okay.
something similar. And so yeah, so I gave it I jumped in and tried it out, and yeah, and I really liked it, and I just kind of grown my career from there.
Okay. But you say you've been in Japan twice now, right? So let's talk about the first time.
Yeah, so the first time I came to Japan, I lived in Kyushu, in Kumamoto.
Okay.
Yeah, and I worked for Nova,
Oh,
and yeah, so I got my start there. Yeah, back when Nova was actually a good school.
right.
And yeah, and it was actually like I figured out like the population of Kumamoto was probably, I don't know, I'm guessing maybe 1 million people,
Okay.
right? And we had seen probably about 5% of those people walk through our doors and take a lesson
Wow.
one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was really cool, right? And I
Mhm.
actually ended up having uh being the kids coordinator, so for
Okay.
all of Kyushu. So I did all the kids training for our instructors who were going to go into that, and I was managing three different Eikaiwa, three different schools.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a great experience. Yeah.
yeah, it was really cool. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about now. What
Mhm.
do you do?
So now I have I have a full-time job, and I have kind of a like my side gig. So my full-time job is I do technical training for a company in EMM.
Okay.
EMM stands for Enterprise Mobility Management, and really what that means is that when a company gives people phones, for example, to
Okay.
use in their work or computers, right? They have a system that manages those,
Okay.
right? As someone from the post office comes to your house, and they have you sign right on their tablet, right? There's a system that
Oh, yeah.
manages stuff, yeah. And so
Okay.
the company actually provides the software for that, so to be able to manage all of the devices. We also do software for managing printers.
Mm.
And then we have another piece of software for intelligence that lets you see how people are actually using those devices. And
Okay.
the company I work for is called Sodi, and they're based in Canada, but we
Mm.
have offices all over the world.
Okay. So it seems like you really enjoy working around technology.
I mean, I've always been attracted to technology, maybe because like I'm always an early adapter of new things.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Even if I suck at it at the beginning, like there's something to that newness and being able to give people a like an experience that's
Mm,
really beneficial to them in some way.
mm.
And so yeah, so I've kind of leveraged that to like for one, like I didn't like when I was in Japan, before I moved this time,
Mm.
actually I started a website and a podcast, and kind of learned about marketing, and then I was able to leverage that into a job, like going back to the States.
Oh, okay. Mm.
Right, yeah. And then like because I had business experience when I came back to Japan, I leveraged that into a job doing training for a really big company. Right.
Okay.
And then
So,
yeah, and then like by doing a website and then like having a coaching business and running my own company
mm.
kind of through COVID, like that actually led me to the job I have now.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
so that's my main job, and then I also do coaching, right? I
yeah.
do executive coaching, which is
Mhm.
for entrepreneurs, really giving them a trusted advisor, someone they can talk to about their business and their plans, right? When no
Okay.
one else understands. And I do coaching for people who are either looking for their first job or looking to transition their job,
Mm.
right? Really getting themselves ready to like to hit the job market full steam ahead.
Okay. How do these people find you? Is it just your website, or are there some different ways you are marketing yourself to them?
Yeah, well, the way that most people find me is through my website, and that's
Okay.
Synergy Personal Development. I do some other things. For example, like I write on Medium,
Yes.
and I write about topics like personal development topics,
Mm.
professional development topics.
Mm.
So those are some outlets as well. I'm actually I'm like working on getting into public speaking, and so through that as well, like I'm attracting a few people.
Wow, you are doing so many different things. Yeah.
I
Okay.
know
Let's.
I sometimes I'm like sometimes I'm so tired. I want to take a break. But I look at my job at my board here, and there's always more stuff to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the writing.
Mhm.
When did you realize that you had a gift for writing?
I didn't. I did not. Yeah, like so here, yeah, here's kind of my journey into writing is when like I was working at a pretty big Eikaiwa, and I was doing corporate training,
Okay.
and then I got promoted into head office.
Okay.
So when I moved to head office, part of one of my responsibilities was doing coaching for like C-suites, like
Yeah.
CEOs and CIOs, and then also for country managers and
Okay.
regional directors. And yeah, and that company was charging about Goman yen or like or $500 an hour for my service.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like, if they are charging $500 an hour for my service, I better know what it's like to be on the other side of the
Mm,
table.
mm,
So
mm,
I hired a coach, and the coach I hired is actually someone I'd known for a really long time.
mm.
And I asked him, his name is JB Glossinger, and I said, hey JB, like I got a new job and I'm doing coaching, and I need a coach. Who would you recommend? And he said,
Mm.
me. I'm like, okay, cool, dude. Let's get this rolling. And so, yeah, so I started working with him, and just really I was just trying to understand what it's like to do some coaching.
Mm,
And then when COVID hit, I'm like, okay, dude, it's slowing down, and I really want to get my business off the ground.
mm,
So, like, what should I do? And he's like,
mm.
well, you need a channel, and why don't you try writing? I'm like,
Okay.
okay,
Mm, mm,
I'll give it a try. And so I
mm,
wrote for let's see, probably about 6 months.
mhm.
I was doing writing on Medium, and doing some writing on LinkedIn. And then he's like, oh dude, your writing is pretty good. You should write a book.
Okay.
What?
Mm, mm,
Book? Are you serious? I'm like, okay, sure, I'll give it a try.
mm, mm.
And so right, I just started, and so I kind of laid it out. And really, like when you write a book, you don't write a book, you build a book. It's a huge
Right.
project, right? I mean, like most books are probably 60,000 words or more,
Mm,
right? Book like nonfiction books, like self-help books, about
right.
60,000 words. So how do you write 60,000 words, right? You've got to chunk it down,
Mm, mm.
right? So what I did is I like took some time, I brainstormed, I actually laid out the entire book. So I
Okay.
laid it out into chapters, and I had stick post-it notes,
Mm, mm,
and I made like all these post-it notes and put them up. and moved them around, like what's the flow of the book and how do these chapters go together. And then when I figured it out that it was going to be about 30 chapters, I'm like, okay, well, each chapter then has to be about 2,000 words. So then I just went about like writing a chapter a week and 2,000 words and 2,000 words. And, after about probably 6 months, yeah, I'd finished the first draft of my book. And between doing my book, doing more writing on Medium, I'm actually an editor for one of the largest publications there. Like you see more and you do more. And it's like it's probably similar to music. Like I try music and I just kind of suck at it, but I kind of just want to keep doing that. You just have to keep doing it. Like you might have this feeling that you can do it and that you can be successful, but really the only way is you have to keep writing and writing. And you probably know this because you've written some books as well, right?
Yeah.
It's like you just have to keep building your chalk. Right? You try these new things and you take on new challenges, and then little by little, you look back and say, hey, wow, I can do this.
So your book, Win the Day, How to Win Your Battles with Stress, Anxiety, and Depression. Why did you choose that topic?
Well, I brainstormed a lot of different topics, and I was, again, it was like that thing, like, what can I write like 60,000 words about? And then really, like when I started writing my book, I had just left my longtime relationship.
Okay.
I've been married for 20 years, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, and that relationship was really rocky. I mean, it's someone made this analogy, is like oil and vinegar like taste good together. They taste right. It's a good salad dressing, but eventually like have to part, right? And so when you're with someone who's so different than you are, like just over time, it's not going to work out. And there's a lot of stress, right? Moving countries, like trying to make sure that like I was, doing the right things. Right? Like my moods were up and down. A lot of things. Not just through that relationship, but like all through university, kind of the same. Right. And some bouts with depression and some anxiety attacks. And so like I'm like, okay, well, this is a topic that I know well. And it's actually something that like if I'm feeling down or if I need some kind of support, like I could pick it up and I can look at a chapter and I can say, okay, dude, that's a good idea. That's a way I can do this.
Okay.
And then keep going. So it really was a handbook for me. Right. And the idea was that like whatever issues there are, right, those are things that that you can like kind of work on little by little. Yeah. And that's kind of what led me to that book. But it's broken down into 5 sections. So the first section is about having a good relationship with yourself.
Okay.
That's so important. Everyone thinks I have to have a relationship with this person or I have to do good at this. And they always put themselves down. But the most important thing, right, is that you have to really have that good relationship, right, with yourself. So, from there it goes to like being able to have good relationships with others, having some good routines, like having a way that you can understand how to work in different kinds of situations, right? And then like how do you kind of top off and like keep maintaining, right, your sense of self-worth and your ability to keep moving forward. So
if I remember correctly, you had maybe a podcast or some live shows.
Yeah.
And it seemed some great conversations came out of that. Do you remember anything that you can share with us?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the first podcast I did was called Relaxation Media, and that was all is like relaxation videos. So I'd go out in nature and shoot a video and then edit together with a little bit of music. And the idea was that in 5 minutes, like you can step out of your situation, clear your mind, and then get back in and come with a bit more energy. Again, it's totally related back to my book, and it's something I did like a long time before. I did I kind of dabbled with YouTube a bit, and I've done a couple of interviews, and then I've done some self-help stuff as well. Yeah. And those have actually been have pretty interesting and gotten some good information or gotten some good reviews. Yeah. I mean, one thing that I really is on my plate to do is create some courses, some online courses, right, that people can do themselves. Like I did that in early COVID. I had some success with an Ikigai course, for example. I'm
Mm,
gonna people understand like what are the things that really drive you. So,
mm, great. Okay, so let's talk about travel. How
mm,
much traveling have you done around the world?
not so much.
Okay. What are some
Yeah, I've
interesting
been to
places
right.
you've
Yeah,
been to?
it's funny. Like actually, like let's see, I've been to Canada, I've been to Mexico, I lived in the States, I lived in Japan. The first time I came to Japan, I went to let's see, so we were a little bit northeast, I think,
Mhm.
of Tokyo was our base. And so we went to like Tokyo, Kyoto, Nara, Mount Fuji. We did a Nikko, right?
Okay. Mm,
Yeah. And we did like Hatoba store.
mm,
We were only here for 10 days.
okay. Wow.
That's like more of Japan than I've seen in the entire rest of the time I've been here. Yeah,
Okay.
I lived in Kumamoto, so I went around Kyushu a bit. I went to Okinawa earlier this year. That was really cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been to Korea, like I kind of dipped my toe in there.
Okay.
Then I went to India 2 weeks ago, and
Mm,
I'm going to Australia in 2 weeks from now.
okay. So let's
Yeah.
talk about India.
Yeah.
What led you to go to India?
My job. Yeah. I was actually supposed to go to India last year and do training for 100 people.
Okay.
But because of COVID, India's was locked down and it's still like traveling from Japan wasn't such a good idea. So
Right.
I did all that training virtually. So this year I went to India for a seminar
Mm.
about one of our products. And I met a few of our people there. Actually, it was cool because I was surprised. I went into our office and like so many people recognized me by my because they'd had training with me before. And they kept like, "Oh, John, how you doing? You remember me?" I'm like, sorry, no, they don't. But yeah, it was a really interesting experience to go there. And yeah, it's just like it's so different from Japan. Japan, like the way that Japan establishes order by rules.
Yeah.
Just follow the rules,
Mm,
right, and do what you're supposed to do, and everyone can get along. And in India, right, it's so open. There's so many different cultures and so much
mm,
diversity that it's really like the attitude is like, yeah, if as long as you're not treading on me, like you're,
right.
yeah, whatever you believe, like, yeah, that's cool, right? However you do things, yeah, that's cool.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, as long as you're able to, make things kind of work. But the
mm.
thing about it that really surprised me was that like there's like these kind of levels, right? I mean, you
Okay.
for poor, then you have like people who are like, working in their jobs and, and doing what they have to do to get by in the society. But really like to kind of be successful, like it's a big push.
Mm, mm, mm.
Right. I mean, like, in Japan, like doing our kind of side gigs, or in America, like we have our 9 to 5s and then the weekend warrior thing where I'm like kind of doing this thing on my own. Like, yeah,
Mm,
you can do that, right? And you can kind of build that little by little, but
mm.
it seems like in India, and I'm a total noob to India, but yeah, it seems like you really have to be conscious of your push
Yeah.
to kind of get yourself to that, to that little bit higher echelon
Mm,
of success. Yeah.
mm, mm. Great. Well, what are some, let me talk about America. What are some differences you see between Japan and the US?
Some big differences.
Mm,
Okay, so yeah, here's my biggest one that happened recently. So in December, I was in the hospital in
okay.
Japan. Yeah, I had to have surgery and I was in the hospital for 10 days.
Mm,
My total out of pocket for my hospital stay was Juman. So 100,000 yen.
okay.
Right. Yeah. My brother was in the hospital in America
Mm,
for 1 week. His total out of pocket was $300,000.
that's a big difference.
Uh, yeah. Why? Why is that? Because insurance in America sucks.
Yeah.
If you don't have a full-time job that your company is supporting your insurance, yeah, you're going to be underinsured or not insured.
Mm,
Right. And so then what do you have to do? Right. Yeah. How do you manage those huge bills? It's crazy.
that's a
Right.
big difference. Yeah.
It's awful. Yeah. I mean, I live in Tokyo and I don't have to drive. I get on the train.
Mm,
If I have to go to another country, I get on a city bus and go to Haneda Airport in 50
Yeah.
minutes, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. In America, right, you need to have a car means insurance, right? And depending on the neighborhood that you live in, your insurance is going to be higher if your neighborhood seems a little bit more dangerous, right? Than if you're in an area where a lot of rich people live. So yeah, I mean, it's just the cost of living here and the lifestyle, and really the ability to kind of like the thing I like about Japan is no matter what your economic situation, like there's a place that you can slot in and enjoy, right? Yeah, and that's not necessarily true in the United States. Yeah, there was a report recently that people said they thought they needed to make what was it, $250,000 a year to
Wow.
feel that they were comfortable.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think that's true in Japan.
Yeah.
Not even. So
Okay, now let me pick your brain for advice for different groups of people.
sure.
So the first one is, what advice would you give someone who wants to come and live or work in Japan, as you have done successfully?
Yeah, someone who wants to come and to live and work in Japan, I would say that the first thing that you should do is, if it's possible, to come and spend a bit of time here. Like before I moved to Japan the first time, I spent a month kind of doing homestay with a friend, right?
Okay.
And so I got to understand kind of what the culture is like and what it's like to live here. Because a lot of time people have culture shock. And another big thing about Japan is if you can't speak Japanese, it's really hard.
Right.
It's really, really hard. I mean, like my Japanese is getting better now, but that's just because I'm proactive about taking Japanese lessons.
Okay.
And actually, like one thing that I keep track of is how many days a week I speak Japanese.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, when I was working in Eikaiwa, right, when I was working in English schools, there's no need to speak Japanese.
Right.
I spoke English. They didn't really care to speak Japanese to you. Yeah, most of all the teachers spoke English. When students saw you outside, they wanted to speak English too. So you really had to push yourself. You have to push yourself to get the language, right? I mean, I know people who've lived here a long time and don't speak the language, but there's a lot of things that are closed off to you. And I know that there is, there's different ways to navigate the system. If you speak Japanese and if you don't, and obviously if you speak Japanese, it's a lot easier. So,
Okay.
yeah. So I'd say that, right? And then if your goal is to live in Japan, then I would say at first take any job you can get. Don't be picky.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And then from there you can build out into other stuff once you get going.
Okay. Let me mention your book again. It's Win the Day: How to Win Your Battles with Stress, Anxiety, and Depression. Now, can you share one or two tips for someone who is interested in reading the book, someone who might have some stress and want to
Sure.
get the book? Yeah, just
Yeah.
one, two.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah. I mean, yeah, as a couple of tips that I think are really helpful are like one, like as I said before, is like really like how do you get to have a good relationship with yourself?
Okay.
You have, right, that person that you see in the mirror every day, that person that you get out of bed, right? And have breakfast with every day, if besides your partner, if you're living with your partner, right? You have to like that person. You actually have to love that person, because if you don't have that feeling that you would rather spend time with yourself than anyone else in the whole world, yeah, then like you're really missing out on what makes you unique. Everyone's unique. Everyone has something special to contribute, right? And when you can accept yourself and come to like yourself and eventually love yourself, you find those things inside of you that you have to offer others. And really, like that's what life is all about. It's not about what we have, it's about what we give. Right. So the idea is that the more you give, like the more rich your life is going to be. And the only way to give to the fullest potential that you have is by really understanding who you are and what makes you tick. So that's one thing. The other thing is about routines. Like it's really, really important that you have a morning routine and an evening routine, because these routines are your foundation, right? The thing that help you to make it through the day, right? In the morning, if you have a routine, like my routine in the morning is like get up, I do some meditation, I listen to some classical music, I do some reading, and then after that, I get on with whatever I have to do.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. But if I don't do those things, like my day goes sideways. Right. Yeah. Because we need to have that foundation. Right. I mean, yeah, when I'm doing my meditation or when I'm listening to music, like I might be doing this. Yeah, but like I know that for 30 minutes or 45 minutes, like this is my time
Okay.
to like, and some people call it their sacred time, right? To get everything in alignment. Right. And the same with an evening routine, right? A lot of times people are looking at their phones or watching movies and watching streaming videos, right? Just until they go to bed. Right. And then when you go to bed, you can't sleep. Why? Because your mind is racing.
Right.
Right. So you have to have that cool down time and you have to have some reflection. Right. And so one thing that my coach taught me, right, was that at the end of the day, you should kind of review your day.
Okay.
Right. Think about, yeah, like what things did you do today and how did they go? Right. Do that evaluation. Right. Kind of think about like, do a visualization, something that you want to do in the future, like imagine yourself doing it well. Really have that image of what it's like for you to do that, right? Because like you are creating that mind memory, that muscle memory of your brain, right? To understand how to do that situation well. And then when you get into those situations, you're actually going to do them well. Right. But yeah, how do you like settle your mind at the end of the day so you can get some sleep? Yeah, because sleep is also a really important thing. And if we keep racing, right, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours go by, you need to wake up at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning, like that time is going away, and then you're going to be a wreck the next day. And if you continue on that process, yeah, it's a downward spiral.
Wonderful. Okay. What advice would you give to young people who are not sure about what they want to do with their lives?
Ooh, young people who are not sure about, try everything.
Okay.
Try everything. You're young. Yeah, you're young. Making mistakes is okay. All right. Like taking a misstep is okay. Because if for example, you take a misstep in your career and you're young, it's not really a mistake. You learn something you don't like. But there are also probably some things that you do like that you can take and leverage into that next opportunity. Right. So yeah, that's the thing I'd say. I was talking to my daughter a few months ago about like she wants to be a nurse. But like going to university is really expensive. She's like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, and and it's hard. I'm like, well, why don't you start out like on like nurse's assistant course?
Right.
Oh yeah, go and work in a nursing home or go and work at a hospital, right? As nurse's assistant, get your license. Right? Now, now that you have that license, your salary is going to be pretty good. Now go to nursing school at night, right? Yeah, it might take you 10 years or 12 years, right, to get to be a nurse. But guess what? You're 20 years old. You're only going to be 32.
Right.
How long do you think you're going to work? You've got a long time ahead of you. So don't be worried about everything has to be perfect and has to fit together. It doesn't. Yeah, things go sideways, and and everything you do helps to build you up towards the person that you want to be. Like where I am now, like I couldn't have been that same person like when I was in my 20s. It took all of my experiences, all of my setbacks, and the successes as well, right, to get me where I am. Right. Yeah. So we can't really we can't really race to that place. Yeah, just enjoy the process.
Well, you've already said a lot, but do you have any final words you want to get off your chest?
Final words. Yeah, I mean, if you are actually, so for those of you who are watching this program and have watched Everett's other programs, right, they're really informative. And I just want to personally thank you for giving us your time. time is the most valuable asset that we have.
Mm.
Right. And, oftentimes people waste it scrolling through videos and playing, mindless games like Candy Crush. Like they have their place. Right. But you have chosen to invest a few minutes with us. And and I'm so grateful to you for taking the time to do this. If I could leave you with one piece of advice, I would say, don't give up on yourself. It may, you may seem like you don't know your direction or like things aren't going how you want. Just keep plugging away, right? It takes time, right? No great tree like grew to its greatness in a day or a week or a month or even a year. It takes time. Time is your friend. Yeah. So enjoy the process, like learn from every experience. Right. And and then like if you want some help, right, with getting yourself to the next direction, if you need, right, like reach out to those people like who are your cheerleaders, the ones that are always, always behind you and saying you can do it, right? Even when you're doing better than them, they're still cheering for you. Those are the people that are important to you. And if you don't have any people like that in your life, why don't you reach out to me and let's see how I can help you to to take your life to the next level. Yeah. Again, my website, synergypersonaldevelopment.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, right? Just look me up. You can see that kind of funny looking guy with the bald head chin. And I'm happy to help you. Yeah. My mission in life is to help people to be the best versions of themselves. And as many people, I mean, my goal is 100,000 people, right? How can I help 100,000 people to be the best versions of themselves? And that's what I'm working on, right? And if you're feeling that you're not the best version of yourself, come on. Let me help you to get to be there as well.
Thank you so very much for taking the time to do this. I really
Thanks
appreciate
so
it.
much. Yeah, thanks, Everett. It was really good talking with you. I wish that I had a chance to talk with you more because I always
know. We'll find time to do it again. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I'll put a link to your book as well.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye for now.
Okay. Yeah. Bye. Thanks for taking your time to listen to us. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.